there really is, like, from the criminology perspective, there is just so much consensus around how harmful America's mass incarceration has been. I just kind of want to bring in the health perspective to it and be like, no, this is definitely bad for people. Like, I don't know how obvious I gotta say it. Like, I think it's pretty obvious personally, but I think the more evidence we can put behind this argument, it shouldn't hurt, right?
Right.
It's the hope. Tell me what that means.
It's interesting that's where we are today, where if you have something to say, but you don't have research-based evidence to back up what you say, then it won't really get any attention. And even when you do provide such research-based evidence, it will get put through the fire time and time again until it reaches a wider audience. I guess my next question as it relates to what we're discussing is, when we talk about the impact health-wise, you've narrowed in on, like you said, health and neuro, you see them as one and the same because they're connected. Like,
absolutely.
With that said, how have you defined what those health factors are that get impacted by things like incarceration?
You sound like my mentor. She a tough one, but I'm gonna have to send this to her because she asked questions about operational definitions, and you wrote a master's thesis. Exactly what I'm talking about when it comes down to like defining, because you got to get specific, right? What are you talking about? Yeah. So I actually primarily, as my primary outcome, I use neuropsychological measures. And I don't get into the details of this, but my favorite thing to do clinically is administer neuropsychological assessments. What you do is you basically give somebody a test and you figure out their memory, you figure out their attention, you figure out their visual spatial functioning, their psychomotor functioning. You figure out, is it your memory that's messed up, or is it your inhibition? Is it your inhibition, or is it your ability to see? And we actually kind of, I guess I can speak on it because I've actually kind of presented on some of this research now. But I've already kind of done some of the preliminary analyses with like really large samples. Like I think there are like 6,000 people in my sample so far that have already shown that being incarcerated not directly, let's say, has a negative relationship with your memory functioning. So Alzheimer's disease and related dementias is the way that I focus on it. Alzheimer's like primary thing is memory loss. Like that is like the one thing that very many people like can relate to if they've ever had like an older person in their life lose their memory. That is Alzheimer's disease, like prototypical, but it's not the only. But memory is affected by a bunch of different dementias, strokes, and a bunch of other different things. So that was kind of like the big stuff. And then as far as other things that are impacted along the way, right? Because it's not just you're incarcerated, now you have dementia 30 years later. You're incarcerated, now you have depression. You're incarcerated, now you have hypertension. You're incarcerated, now you have diabetes. And that actually helps along the pathway to reducing that intellectual capacity, so that if you do end up having something like Alzheimer's disease, it shows much more. Like that memory is going to be impacted that much more by it. So really focusing to different neurocognitive functionings. Right. I try not to get too deep into the weeds. I don't want to bore nobody. But
no, this is important conversation, and it's from the source, so it's pure. This is that fish scale, so you got to just take it how it is. Like, this is pure from the source of the well, if you will. Like, this is, so we can't water it down. We'll clip it up for people. They can rewind it, pause it, play it back. But this is important in my opinion, because they need to hear young Black males like yourself speak like this on a more normal basis. And when I say speak like this, not like on some like tone and like like, I'm talking about just speak with a passion and with a matter of expertise in what you're talking about. You're not just out here throwing just out opinions about what you're talking about. Not to say that there's not room or places for that. I think that's important too. We should be able to have opinions and reactions to things, but your perspective is not an opinion. It's a research-based, evidence-based result that you're talking about, what the process was like to find a result and what the results were and all the other stuff. So really based in science, and we need demonstrations of people like yourself talking so passionately and like fly, like you just talking like I said, it just comes out so naturally. Pause. That's just what you do, and we need more examples of this. If motherfuckers is bored,
it doesn't matter how you feel.
This is the G podcast. I don't give a what y'all talk about if you bored.
I eat it up.
No talk back. You see me blink yet?
Nah,
Look.
this is what we doing. High level convo. So please continue. We gonna bore the out of these man. That's what.
Out of these. You know
That's
what?
what we gonna do.
I said something recently where I'm trying to decolonize the concept of professionalism. And for the record, the reason I wanted to come on your podcast so much because I know you talk about so many different things. Like you go from really high level topics to talking about things about marriage, talking about like storytelling, like you like the diversity of it. But decolonizing professionalism is one of the big things that I care about. In real talk, I think I've hit this point, and I said it to my mentor during the class that she was teaching, where it was just like, this is up, and like I don't mind saying that because like if if I told you that Black women were 3 times as likely to die during pregnancy, and that's ridiculous, and you were more upset about me saying than the fact that I just pointed out.